Pardon an interruption, this is Troy Hill with the Star Chronicles. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So if you're interested in making your own podcast, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
The Dallas Cowboys, America's team.
Just Us Radio presents the Star Chronicles.
How about this, Cowboys?
Yeah! And goal. Elliott into the end zone.
Welcome back, Cowboys Nation, to the Star Chronicles Cowboys Football Podcast, episode 13. We just sat through a boring bye week. Never much fun, but let's go ahead and bring my co-host to the show, Lisa and the Starstruck fan. How are you guys both doing this evening?
Doing well, Troy. Doing well.
And Lisa, how are you?
Same. I'm doing well. I love bye weeks. There's no stress. It's just non-stressful and delicious.
Yep.
Non-stressful and delicious.
Next best thing to Victory Mondays. Yep. Because you can
Yeah,
go
that's
in
true,
on Monday, you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, but I didn't go to my favorite coffee spot and get my free coffee, so it's still not quite the same. Victory Monday, free coffee. I'm not going to say the company and stuff because we're only talking about Anchor, the easiest way to do a podcast this evening. But we did have a little bit of news that happened a couple of days ago. We had a trade. Some of us may think it was a big move, and some people might think it was a small move, but we did acquire the services of Michael Bennett from the New England Patriots for a 7th-round pick. That can change to a 6th-round pick as well, correct? I'm not sure how the logistics parts of that works, but what is the overall thoughts and opinions of this trade? And we'll start with Lisa this evening.
Meh. It's not. At first I was like, what? But then it's like you see the price, and then after I talked to you guys, it was like, yeah, okay, for the price, I guess it's whatever. It didn't move the needle for me at all. I was just like, I guess it's a body. If he was that good, the Patriots never would have cut him. Let him go for that cheap. And so,
I think there's a little argument to that part. He just didn't fit in their system. That's one large part of it that got rid of him because he just didn't fit in the system.
But he didn't fit in the system when they brought him in. So I don't feel like that argument holds for me.
Well, when you New England Patriots, you look at Gordon, you look at players like Moss, you look at other players that you think those would fit in the system. So, that being said, what wouldn't you, if you're a part of the New England Patriots organization, how would you not think that Michael Bennett would work out for the Patriots? Everybody else they brought over there has worked out. They had Corey Dillon over there. It worked out. It's like a long list of troubled players that went there that worked out.
Well, I don't even know that he was a troubled player per se, but they knew that his skill set didn't fit into their system when he came in. So I just think it's a diminishing skill set that ultimately that's the reason why they let him go for cheap. Because if it was just he doesn't fit here, they would have released him.
Yes, what's the Skip Bayless? He was mentioning something on his show about maybe this was just because Belichick and Garrett are friends. Maybe this was just his kind of way of throwing him a bone or whatever.
If you think Bill Belichick's going to throw anybody a bone, you're on crack. Skip Bayless. Well, whatever.
I still argue the fact about Skip Bayless being a legit Cowboy fan because I think us in the know, just actually listen to radio broadcasting and stuff here locally, would definitely question that. But that's just us. But what is your overall thoughts on it, Ron?
Lisa brought up a good point when she was mentioning about him not fitting into the system, and I think I don't know if there was an issue with that, but yet when you go to the Patriots team, you have to be very disciplined and at times patient because players, when they go there, they're not used quite the way they may have been accustomed to being used. You know, if you were that guy that never came off the field, used to seeing the ball thrown your way of your receiver, not used to ever being rotated out if you're on the defensive, things change a little bit, and you have to be very patient and very obedient to the system, to the
Yes.
Patriots way when you go there. And I
But
think,
the difference is, I mean, it's a winning culture. A winning
yeah,
culture will
yeah,
do that to somebody.
exactly. That's why they're doing
if you
what they're
haven't won in a
doing, and
while.
other teams are not.
Yes.
It works for them, but
Mm-hmm.
players that are not accustomed to that kind of environment when they go there, like your Chad Ochocinco, Chad Johnson, or whatever, players that when he was with the Bengals, and players that look like they excelled in one organization, but then they get to the Patriots, you're like, well, what happened? Randy Moss, he did his thing that one year, but didn't come back. When he started talking and yapping, it's just certain stuff you don't do. You come out the game when they ask you to. You be quiet when interviews happen. You say very minimal. And if certain players do not fit the Patriots way, you're not going to last long.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically an organization where it's known probably throughout the league that you have to check your ego at the door when you
Yes.
walk into their facility and you put your helmet on to go to work. You got to check your ego at the door.
Yes.
And I don't know what their
To win. In order to win.
Yeah, and I don't know how they. I mean, outside of just cutting and trading their players away, I don't know what they really do to reprimand players who are not performing, reprimand players are acting up, off the field. I don't know what their process is, but I'm really curious to see the nuts and bolts of their operation. I mean, like I said before, I think the Cowboys have tried to mimic pieces of their organization. They've tried. I mean, they're not spending as much money. They're
dumpster diving.
Yeah, I mean, there's
we
things
go
that
dumpster diving in the Patriots dumpsters.
Yeah, I mean, there's things they're doing that's a little bit different, but I mean, on my opinion, so we can say right now at this point that Lisa's probably like 25% on board with the Michael Bennett trade, if that.
I mean, the thing for me is it's kind of a wait and see. Like, okay, he'll play on Monday night against the Giants, and I mean, I can see where you're coming from. I just don't know that. I just don't know.
Yeah, well, I haven't really shared. Well, we shared, offline amongst ourselves where my perspective is. Now, I kind of went crazy with it. I said, "Oh, this could be like a move like Charles Haley," which I'm going to backtrack from that. I'm not saying it's Charles Haley. Listeners, I'm not saying Charles Haley. We just got the second coming of Charles Haley. But what I am saying is that we do have a potential player if, he's healthy, if, he goes out there, that we got like a pretty good pick or a pretty good player for a 7th round pick when you already got Tank Lawrence and you already got Robert Quinn. I mean, when was the last time you've had 3 Pro Bowlers on the defensive line? They've all been to Pro Bowl once or twice, and I know that people will say, "Well, Troy, he's not young," but that's what older players do. Older players, when they start declining in talent, they go team up with another player that might have like a little bit left in the tank, and so you're trying it's like you're building like Voltron.
And I got something about that young thing, Troy. When you're done,
okay. But I just think this could be a win-win for us. And again, if the defensive line performs and they put more pressure on them, I mean, we know that Michael Bennett in the past has been able to put pressure on the quarterback. If these things happen, it makes it easier on our secondary. It makes it easier on our linebackers. It makes everything easier for everyone behind the defensive line. So why not for a 7th round pick? That's all I'm saying. But go ahead, Ron. Sorry.
I was just going to say, whenever you pick a guy up of this caliber, Michael Bennett, when you sign a guy at his age with his length of time in the NFL, you are essentially saying you are probably going to win it all within the next year or two, because it's a gamble, basically.
Yeah.
You're saying that he is legitimately perhaps the final piece to what you're trying to put together for this season. Whenever you sign a guy of that age and that much time in the season, you're saying we're going to sign him, and trade deadline is coming up tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
You are saying we're signing him, and we're probably going to get somebody else, and you're saying that we are going to make a legitimate, strong run with this guy, and if we don't do it, we'll cut our losses. But we're going to give it a shot with this one season with him.
I don't know. I mean, I just think.
But I don't think he's that transcendent of a talent to say. I don't feel like, to me, that says we're all in.
But
that's
play, but I mean, he can play inside and outside. So
that's the only benefit that I see, is that you almost got a 2-for-1. Like,
yes.
You're getting, because he is interchangeable on the inside
that's
and the outside. That's
the exact benefit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I don't feel like he doesn't, like, when the Rams went and got Jalen Ramsey, that's a pushing all your chips in kind of move. This one, I don't feel necessarily is. I feel like we needed some bodies. Now, let me tell you something about tomorrow. If the heavens open up and Jamal Adams ends up back here, now that's an all-in move. And we're definitely making. I mean, that's what they're saying if that move comes to fruition.
Yeah, well, I agree. That is a cherry on top. Mm-hmm. But I do think even if we do pick up Adams with the addition of Michael Bennett on the line, interchangeable inside and outside, that pays big dividends for a person like Jamal Adams also. Because I'm still totally convinced that if we're not generating turnovers, or we're not generating quarterback pressure, we're not going to be able to do anything. That's probably like some of our losses right there. I mean, just think about it. If we didn't have turnovers and stuff against us in this last game against the Eagles, it could have very well been just the same game basically as the Cowboys versus the Saints.
Yep.
Those 2 quick turnovers is what altered everything of that game. I mean, to me, that's the key right there. Oh, yeah, we can stop people. That's fine. But if we're not turning over the ball, I mean, we're not. It's just a loss, and the championship teams do it. The Patriots do it. I mean, San Francisco even does it. I mean, I can't call them a championship team or anything right now, but they're playing like one.
Yeah. There's to me this past weekend, that top layer of the NFC, in my opinion, started to pull away.
Yes.
Like the top of the first round bye teams are starting to. I feel like San Francisco will learn a lot by just playing in their division, but they've already. I mean, they've already played. I don't know. I think they have played the Rams, or they played Seattle. Maybe I don't know.
They played the Rams. Yeah, they beat them like 20-7.
Yeah. Okay. So they still have to play Seattle twice, and so there's some things coming up for them that'll really show what they're made of. But not
a whole lot.
What do you mean?
I mean, outside of division, it's not a whole lot. They're playing a losing schedule this season.
Right. So. Well, that's because they were terrible last year.
Exactly.
I still don't understand. I mean, New England can't help who their division is. Same as same as us. But
because New England's actually going to tighten up a bit here too in the second half.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to tighten up a little bit. Not how it's going to tighten up for the Cowboys, but yeah, it's going to tighten up a little bit.
But we tighten up no matter what because we play down to our competition. So our schedule is going to be tough no matter who we play.
Yeah, which remind me, because that is a question I just want addressed on this program. But, I mean, do we still want to talk more about Michael Bennett, or we want to just transition over into my question?
I mean, well, the last thing I'll say about Michael Bennett is only concerns I have are his age and his, he's been very, very outspoken about his feelings towards this organization. I get it. When you played for Philly, I get it. But it's like, can you fit in with the locker room? He's obviously older. And, how does that look? And then, okay, show me Monday night.
I can give 3 examples. I've been a diehard Cowboy fan my whole life and a Bulls fan. And I hated Dennis Rodman. And when Dennis Rodman came along on the Bulls, ultimately I ended up loving Dennis Rodman. The same goes for Charles Haley. The same goes for Deion Sanders.
And T.O. Don't forget T.O.
And T.O. as well. So, I mean.
He stood on the star.
Yeah, he stood on the star. So.
The ultimate hate. Hate.
That's true.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that hill can be, or that hill or valley, people can get through that.
Oh, yeah.
Especially winning. Winning changes a whole bunch of different stuff.
Money does, too.
Yes, it does. It very well does. But my question is, we're currently 4-3 with Jason Garrett. If we had Belichick coaching the Cowboys right now this whole season, will we be still 4-3?
No.
Mm-mm. No chance.
What makes it different between our perception that the team would be better with different coaches versus Jason Garrett right now?
The ability to make adjustments in game.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. That was going to be a tough one for me to respond to right away. Thank you. It's exactly what I would have been thinking in about another 3 seconds.
I mean, that's the only difference. I think the game plan, I think it's the pregame plan according to who you're playing, not what you've always done. And then the ability to adjust in the game, during the game, as you see, having the ability to see what's being thrown at you and what adjustments need to be made to make you successful.
I've been making some observations the last few weeks, even up until last night. And one thing I noticed, I've seen all these backup quarterbacks being successful in the lineups for the most part. I know we've had some that had some hiccups here and there, and I think one's taking a vicious beating tonight for the Steelers. But if Cooper Rush had to step into our lineup, would Jason Garrett look just as good as a coach that he does when Dak is in the lineup? Would we still be able to reel off wins? I know that's hard to respond to that because we don't know. We haven't seen him play this season. But that's why I have an issue with. I think coaching has a lot to do with the success of those backup quarterbacks right now that we see. Matt Moore has walked in and almost looked Mahomes-like. Bridgewater stepped in, and I believe when Bridgewater was out there looking for a team, there were fans that were like, man, nobody's signing Bridgewater. He's another Dak Prescott. We don't want him. Mm-hmm. And he's reeled off 5-0 with the Saints.
Yeah, I still understand the whole Dak Prescott thing and stuff because his numbers are like right up there.
Yeah, not wanting to jump on Dak, but I mean, when I was looking for a solid backup, Bridgewater was out there, and I said, why don't we entertain bringing Bridgewater in behind Dak Prescott? And people laughed at that. Oh, he's terrible. He's horrible. He can't even find a team of his own. And then when they saw him coming up on the schedule for the Saints, we automatically thought it was, and I think we even mentioned on here, I'm like, I wouldn't overlook Bridgewater.
No, we did mention it. No, we mentioned it. We mentioned it.
I was like, I would not overlook him. I thought he was pretty decent, pretty solid, and 5-0 as a backup.
Yeah. Well,
so
I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what people really look for when they're looking at quarterbacks. Just like a general fan. Because there's some, and I've seen posts today where some fans are acting like Sam Darnold was actually a great quarterback now all of a sudden.
What do you mean?
That he's great because he's way better than what everybody thought he was. No, the Cowboys just didn't prepare, and they made him look like he was way better than what he is.
That went away. That went away.
Yeah. But the thing about Teddy Bridgewater is if he wasn't, the Saints paid him as if he was not a starting quarterback, but they paid him a lot of money to be their backup for this very reason, because they went 5-0 while Drew was out, and Drew came back yesterday and acted like he hadn't even missed a game. They're set up to roll into the last part of the season. And, if Sean Payton, but the difference too is that same thing we just talked about. Sean Payton adjusted his game plans to fit Teddy's skill set.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to minimize the risk by putting Teddy out there to be hit 47,000 times. And, he's putting him in positions to succeed. We're not asking you to be a super. We're just asking you not to make it
Sink
more
the ship.
difficult.
Yeah, don't lose us games. Don't lose
Yeah.
us games.
Man it, drive the bus,
Mhm.
get us to Drew's return,
Yep.
and take your big fat paychecks and don't get injured.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I just don't, as far as Cooper Rush, I mean, the way it'll be the same game plan. It wouldn't change anything.
And that's
Yep.
my thing. Like if Jason Garrett had the ability to adjust a game plan for a backup's ability or inability, then when Tony Romo got hurt several years ago, we wouldn't have lost every game that the backups played, except for one.
And those are some veteran quarterbacks. that
right.
came in.
Well, look at even at the offensive line. We had the two players out on the offensive line. They still were running out there, running plays like we still had Tyron and Collins out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they didn't make no adjustments based off of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's proof in the pudding right there for you.
And that tells me
they're
that
not gonna change anything.
And what that tells me is you're so short-sighted that you can't see that we saw it happen against Atlanta a couple years ago, and when Tyron was out, and that means if you're going to live that way, that's one thing, and yeah, you can have all the success you want, but it's not realistic to believe that nobody's ever going to get hurt. And if you can't see the forest for the trees, okay, as long as we have all our players healthy, then this game plan works. But that's not real.
Yeah. Well, it's not real. And I mean, even looking at that from standpoint, you're 100% correct. But even if you got all your players and you're 100% healthy and you're doing stuff in the game and it's not working, you're still trying to do it. What does that say? It's like on both facets of adjustments, they're not doing any.
It's the definition of insanity is what it is.
Yep.
Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Or the insanity of believing that you're the 1990s championship Cowboys football teams where you only ran 10 plays.
Yeah.
Well, they did it. So we got numbers in history showing it can be done.
Yeah, but you had a coach also that kind of backed that kind of thing too. I mean, you can't do over and over the same thing when you've never been met with any success with it. They continued to do what they were doing because it led to 2 back-to-back Super Bowls. So, of course, yeah, you're going to stick with what's working until it proves itself to be broken.
But you also had a coach that was able to get the players, the types of players, the caliber of players that he wanted, because he was the one making the decisions and not that level above him.
Yes.
Not only that, look who came in and won at times. Let's look back because we talked about winning with backup quarterbacks, right?
Jason Garrett.
There was times when Jason Garrett came in. There was a time when Bernie Kosar came in. I remember there's a time even when Steve Walsh came in and won a couple of games for us. So even when we had backup quarterbacks, when we got to the point of winning, these quarterbacks came into the lineup and was still successful and still was able to execute. I mean, so to me, that was a difference.
Well, and because the game plan was tailored to them.
Yeah, nobody expected Bernie Kosar to come in there and play that one game and throw lights out the way he did.
True. Very, very true. But I mean, I think that's what we're trying to express. Again, we're all diehard Cowboy fans here, but if you're just sitting there like all happy at what Jason Garrett offers to the table, I mean, you're just doing. I'm not going to say you're shaming your franchise or anything like that to that level, but
you're settling.
Yeah,
it's like settling for what's available.
Yeah, it's like you are settling. And I mean, I get it. I mean, we all want the Cowboys to be successful. The Cowboys win, we're going to be happy. But, if we lose, we're going to be sitting there pointing the fingers to the key denominator that it is every time that we do lose.
Which brings us a good transition to the NFL standings right now. And I think you and I had a conversation about that.
Yes. Go ahead and start. Yeah.
The lack of preparation. Like, I was looking at the standings, and I said, you know what? To this day, right now, a couple of weeks later, that Jets game is still burning me up that we lost. And people kept saying, well, it's still early in the season. blah, 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 blah. Okay, we're now 4-3, and look at the losses that we've had. We lost to the Jets. We barely lost to the Saints because we just couldn't put up any points or execute, and we lost to the Packers. The Jets are not going to be any type of factor in our playoff run, with the exception of the fact it turned out to be a loss. Because now you look at these teams that we played and lost to, the Saints and the Packers, they're now 7-1. Had they lost to us, where would they be? They would be, 6-2 right now?
Mm-hmm.
Had each of them lost?
Yeah.
And we would be 4-3. And I believe each of them
we'd be 5-2.
Would be 5-2. So, yeah. So, basically, we'd be pretty much right behind you.
Yep, and see, this goes back to the
half game, because I think neither one of them have had a bye yet.
I mean, this goes back to the point that Lisa said earlier. We're the halfway point of the season, and the tiers of the NFC have separated. There is distance between different tiers, and the Cowboys are not in that top tier because of these two games that. Especially. I can't 100% say anything could have been different with the Saints or the Packers.
But the Jets definitely
5-2
would have been a lot better right now.
You want to be right up on someone's heels. You want to be where we're at right now. Mm-hmm. And you can sit up there and say, well, we can win a division. Well, that's great. That's fine, dandy. And it goes back to our fan base sometimes just happy with getting into the playoffs. I don't know if it's because
But we won't be able to win that division. Unless Philly – the wheels fall off in Philly. We play Philly week 16.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. And I like to hope that game won't mean anything that last week.
It absolutely will. That's what will decide the division.
Well, I hope it doesn't. But with this Jets loss, it definitely makes it a possibility.
That's what I mean. That's going to be the one. I have a gut feeling it's going to come down to that one game. And had we won it, we would have clinched in it's technically going to be week 16, but game 15.
But now it's going to be a meaning game because we couldn't beat that Jets game is going to hang out there over us all for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, and it seems like these years that we've had where we're kind of struggling a little bit to get into the playoffs is always that one game in the beginning of the
early
season.
Game at the beginning of the season that we either laid an egg or we lost to somebody we really had no business losing to.
Well, what was it a couple of years ago we lost to Tennessee?
Remember last year? That was last year? Got shut out.
Yeah, okay. Shut out. And see, it was a little bit – I don't understand. I just don't think people understand the seriousness of this thing.
Colts. I think the Colts shut us out. Tennessee caught us coming off of the bye, I believe, with Amari Cooper. We just got Amari. Yeah, the Colts, I believe, shut us out at the end of the season.
I don't think people understand the seriousness of these little things that alter everything. They're like ripples. They're like ripples.
Only with this team. Only with this team can we lose something early in the season. Almost every other team in the league, if they lose something early on in the season, you can say, it's just early in the season.
They rebound. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they
with
rebound.
Us, it seems like that one game will hang over this team for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's just not fun. What is your thoughts on it, Lisa?
Yeah, it's the same. And the only way that Jets game goes away is if you sneak in one, i.e. the Patriots or something like that you didn't expect to win.
True.
Yeah. That's the only way the Jets game disappears.
Yep,
that is true.
Yep. So
that is true. Good call on that.
That's an excellent point there.
It's got to happen. We've got, like you said. Yeah.
And that's the crazy part about it is this team is known for some crap like that. Like you'll lose to somebody like the Jets, but then beat the Patriots in Foxborough for potentially their first loss of the season.
Yeah, and not just beat them.
And then it's like, who are you? Like, I don't even know. And that's kind of what, when the Dear Diary entry that's coming, like that's kind of the influx. I don't know if influx is the right word, but like the inner conflict I have right now. Like, I really don't know who this team is. Are you the team that played Philly, or are you the team that played the Jets, or are you some sort of hybrid between the two?
Well, let's kind of be a little realistic, though, too. Yes, as amazing as the victory of the Eagles was there still enough to make you sit up there and think this is a championship caliber team?
No, or we wouldn't be sitting here salivating who we think we could possibly pick up on tomorrow by the trade deadline.
Yeah, I mean, it was a legitimate win. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, before that game, we all stated on the show that it could not be just a regular, just like squeak through win, and it would have to be a blowout, and that still might not mean anything.
It's almost like it's almost Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas-ish.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I don't know if it means anything yet. It's like I need to see Giants and then Vikings to get like a better assessment of it in my mind.
Well, I think all the Philly game gave you that umph that you needed going into the bye week to kind of say, okay, it's physically possible for us to be as good as we look on paper. Now we got to get healed. We got this 2-week stretch. Let's get healed. Let's get better. Let's go beat the brakes off the Giants in New York and then saddle up, because then it's Minnesota. Okay, they're ahead of you record-wise right now. And, I mean, if we don't win the division, there's some opportunities to really make up some ground and to really almost, I don't think you're going to have to do something spectacular to get up in that upper tier of the NFC. But the part that's frustrating also is before this weekend, I felt like the NFC was actually pretty wide open. I didn't feel like anybody was really, stepping up and pulling away. Like in the beginning of the year, I thought that it would probably be the Rams and the Saints. Well, then when Drew got hurt, it was like, okay, well, it's not the Saints. Well, clearly I was wrong on that. But, now there's a couple of teams that have kind of, and I sure didn't think the 49ers, whatever. But, it felt like before the Saints game, when we were 3-0, the NFC was ours I felt like it's laid out on a platter for you. Drew Brees was hurt. The Rams were stumbling. Go take what belongs to you, Dallas.
Yeah.
And then the wheels fell off.
But since when have we done anything where everything's laid out like for a clear path for you to do something?
Well, yeah, I get that. But I'm saying like it's been a while since things were it felt like the chips were falling our direction, like the Saints, not that I wished for Drew Brees to get hurt, but you're going to have some weird fluke things like that to get a clearer path through the playoffs.
No, that's very, very true. I mean, we just really needed that win against the Saints. And I mean, the Packers, Lord knows I hate them, but we really needed the victory against the Saints and the Jets. I mean, we just needed it, but here we are.
Yeah. Why are we still here, though? Why are we still here? Why? How many years now into Jason Garrett's tenure have we still not knowing what our identity is in 2019 in Week 8?
Because no one's got the big picture yet. We've been down this path before. We're going to do good enough to get into the playoffs. Everyone's going to be excited.
Who's everyone, though? Nobody is going to be okay with having a first-round exit. Nobody is.
Well, you didn't let me finish the sentence because my sentence would have stated that we're going to go to the playoffs. We're going to go into that first game. We're going to get kicked dead in the nuts again.
We'll win.
And then it's going to be start all back
over
win
the first game.
Again, going into the next season.
We'll win the first one.
I don't know. I mean, playoff wins. I mean, I'm old school Cowboy fan. I'm about Super Bowls.
Yeah.
But that's honestly why I don't believe that Jason Garrett keeps his job if we don't at least, at a very minimum, get into the NFC Championship game. And even at that, it's going to be a stretch. If we get our ass handed to us, if we magically get into the NFC Championship game and we get our ass handed to us, I think he still gets fired or whatever, steps down.
Yeah, I kind of like the step down approach better, where he gets fired behind closed doors, but Jerry will be like, "Well, I'm gonna give you the chance to make it right for yourself. You see yourself on the jumbotron saying your speech where you resign, but you're fired. You can handle it. You get 24 hours to decide how you want it to be.
Which is going to piss me off because I'm still going to have to pay off a bet because we'll never know the truth.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, you need a guest and stuff to join you for that dinner, Ron. Yeah. I don't eat a lot.
I said we can take the whole game. Wives and girlfriends and everybody.
Oh God.
Hello, I'm Troy Hill with the Star Chronicles Cowboys Talk Podcast, sponsored by Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place, free, which you can use right from your phone or computer, with creation tools that allow you to record and edit to get your show sounding glorious. They'll even distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. So what you need to do is download the Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. Did I mention it was free?
That this is the same story, and we'll never know the true potential of this team until we get a new coaching staff in here. And I do recognize that this is a talented team, but I think the talent is misguided. I still don't know what keeps these players motivated. I don't know what keeps them inspired. I don't know what it takes. I mean, Chris Richard's still yelling at people, y'all. I mean, I just think the whole thing it just doesn't make sense to me at all. You know, I'm a Cowboys fan until I die, but Jesus, this is just crazy. Just going down the same path every single season.
All I know is after we play the Giants this upcoming week, playoff football begins.
Apparently the championship teams has already started. So that's why we're behind. But the teams that have like a better culture about themselves get it. Mm-hmm. They know about the first 8 weeks of some of those games that might not mean nothing at that current time. They pay major dividends at the end of the season. We definitely want to see a big victory against the Giants. We're definitely looking forward to the game. We do have another podcast coming on later this week with us, me, Ron, and a special guest that listens into the show. So we're definitely looking forward to that. But on behalf of myself, Lisa, and Ron, we'd like to wish you guys a great evening. And make sure you check us out again. And check us out on the Star_Chronicles on IG to find some cool stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to the people. You want to say goodbye to the people, Ron?
Go Cowboys. Beat the Giants. Starstruck out. As always.
Jerry Jones, how about them Cowboys? Check out my stadium video board. Cowboys out.
That's it.